I got it. We're now broadcasting.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Laura, go for it.
Hi, everyone joining. We have a little technical glitch here, and you're all joining as a panelist under my name. So if you wouldn't mind just right-clicking on your screen and you can just write over my name, your name. It looks weird to see all these Laura Lamprons out there. It's funny. No, so we do have 16 attendees as well. Okay, so some of you are joining as panelists and some are fine as attendees.
Yeah, there's
20. Yeah, always something with our technology.
Not a problem. We get to see a couple additional faces.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I was just saying how I'm not a fan of the webinar platform in that there's very little interaction. Okay, we'll just, you want to just wait a minute or so? We had quite a few people sign up. And looking at 25 on right now. Okay. Wait till 11:05. Abe, Rebecca, you okay?
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to wait any much longer.
Sure.
You seem to be holding steady. Okay. Okay, so those who are not Laura Lampron, welcome to Nisivoccia Presents. This is a new webinar series that we're kicking off here today. And its intent is to provide useful information and presentations to help you in your business and or personal lives, depending on the topic. Today we have Abe and Rebecca from Verasoni Worldwide who are kicking it off for us. And so after the year of 2020, what a better way to start this year with reevaluating our marketing efforts. So Abe is founder and CEO of Verasoni Worldwide, and it's a marketing communications consultancy in Fairfield, New Jersey. He's also chair of Seton Hall University's Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. He's well recognized on the speaking circuit on marketing, branding, and communications issues, and frequently quoted in the press. He served on the Walt Disney Company's community advisory for the live action movie Aladdin, which is really exciting. He lives in Summit with his wife and 16-year-old twins. It's a handful. So Rebecca Neill is Chief Operating Officer at Verasoni Worldwide, and Rebecca chairs the Client Experience Initiative at the firm, where she oversees account strategy and operations. She's recognized as a change agent and fierce advocate for clients. She served on the board of Lake Mohawk Preservation Foundation and named One to Watch by the New Jersey Tech Council. It's also impressive. So we're gonna get going. I'm gonna hand it over to them. You can use the Q&A at the bottom for questions or chat. I can also unmute anybody who would like to ask their question verbally. And at the end of, when you log off our webinar today, you will, a survey will pop up before you leave. If you don't mind just taking a second and just let us know what you thought of it. And we'd appreciate it.
Okay.
So with that, I am gonna go mute and I'm gonna give you Abe and Rebecca.
All right, Laura, thanks so much for that wonderful introduction, and good morning, everybody, or yeah, it's still morning. And thanks for joining us today and for allowing us to share our perspective on marketing strategies for 2021 and beyond. What we're going to talk about today are pretty much big themes that we're seeing and that we are positioning our clients for the future, certainly for 2021. Right, so we're going to be talking about some big themes, opportunities, and some head fakes. Okay, so let's dive right in. and hopefully this will work. This is a commercial. This is a little bit about us. We're a marketing consultancy. We're focused on strategy and tactics, and our work ranges from working with Fortune 500 companies, middle market companies, and startups, not-for-profits. I always say, look, marketing. If you're in marketing, you're in a competitive business, but you're really in the behavior modification business, and we're lucky enough to work from clients from across markets and disciplines. And what I'm going to do right now after this introduction, I'm going to pass this on right after this to Rebecca. So here are 4 big themes. Our big themes are clear and meaningful shift to digital. That's really where the world is right now. It actually where the world was maybe 10 years ago, but change is hard, as we all know in business. Agility and efficiency really takes center stage this year. And behavioral marketing also takes center stage. And with that, owning your digital space and platforms are absolutely key. Okay. So what we'll do now is I'm going to pass the baton off to Rebecca, and she's going to take us through some data and give us a perspective on why we're doing what we're doing this year for our clients.
Absolutely. First, I just want to thank you, Laura, for hosting us here today. We appreciate being here, and thank you, Abe, for setting the stage for us. So let's just go right ahead and dive on in from our perspective. So we believe we are still amidst a COVID economy. Though we have adapted in some ways, we all know our everyday has changed. We are still experiencing a global pandemic and its shocks and its aftershocks. What change has COVID brought about? Now, no matter the industry that you serve, expectations are increasingly digital. And what that means is individuals and companies expect a seamless digital experience. Simply, it has to be convenient to do business with you. And there's an on-demand need for access to their stuff. I think we're living in an age where people expect sort of instant gratification now. So no matter what business line that you're in or what service or even commodity that you provide, your customers, your clients expect to be able to access that on their own time. Before we dive into the huge shift that we're seeing in e-commerce, let's talk about online payments. They need to be simple. No matter your business, if you're B2B, how are you raising your bar to meet this new digital expectation? If you're a not-for-profit, how do you collect your donations online? Or even municipalities, do you make it easy for online transactions? All things to consider moving forward.
Just one other thing, because we have lacked, and for the foreseeable future, we're lacking that human touch. Your brand has to exhibit an emotional, an emotional pull over these platforms. And the reason why we're talking about digital is because it literally is the platform right now to get to customers, to get to donors, to get to constituents, to get to clients.
Absolutely. So what we're seeing is a need for a clear and meaningful shift to digital. And that's to maintain a competitive edge, no matter what industry you serve. Now, I'm going to dive into data here. Just stick with me, because I'm a data junkie, and I hope that you can keep with me here. So here's a little perspective on how COVID-19 affected e-commerce. It's clear that COVID has been a catalyst for accelerated growth in e-commerce. As you can see from these numbers, a steady growth that was projected to occur over the next 5-year span was reached in a matter of 6 months. In Q2 of 2020, US retail e-commerce was up nearly 33% from the first quarter and over 44% year over year. This growth occurred in just that first quarter alone. Furthermore, e-commerce also accounted for over 16% in total retail sales. From Q2, we're up over 12% in the first quarter of 2020. Now, I really want you to think about that. This happened in a matter of 3 months. We experienced this growth. So what I really want to talk about is what does that mean for your business? It means that e-commerce simply isn't optional anymore. It certainly hasn't been for a while, but it won't be moving forward. No matter your industry, from a marketing perspective, you and your clients must meet your audience at their terms. And that means building a mobile, convenient experience that ensures customers and clients are engaged at every single touch point. So taking a look here, US consumer brands matter most when it comes to smartphones. And what that means is that people are more comfortable connecting to your business on the mobile device. And furthermore, in many ways, they're really expecting it. Now, I want to call attention to that statistic there that we have at the bottom, that 90%. Text messaging can be done appropriately to meet your customers, your clients, but it needs to be done within an integrated marketing strategy. Granted, we are not suggesting that you flood your clients and consumers with text messages. That would not be our recommendation by any means. But in utilizing those touch points, they need to be used wisely, as they are very impactful, as you can see from the data. So I want to talk a little bit here about mobile payments. Mobile payments, I personally used to never be a fan until COVID-19. Now we don't want to touch anything. And I want to be clear, I'm a millennial, and I still wasn't a huge fan of mobile payments until now. So we see this 28% number now, but we know that 28% number and that consumer preference is only going to continue to grow, and your businesses need to be prepared to support that continued growth. So we're going to talk a little bit about ad blockers here. 60% of individuals are using ad blockers. And this is important to note, and why we caution about online advertising, especially where we're using third parties, because that 60% is such a large number. But we'll dive into that a little bit more. Before I hand this back over to Abe to really pull into ad blockers and our strategies moving forward, what I really want to stress here is that although we are all physically a little hands-off right now, thanks to COVID, with an integrated marketing strategy, you can still make human connections with your clients while leveraging the technologies that we're talking about as a tool. And this perspective really does inform all of our strategies for clients across the board. But Abe, love to turn this back over to you so you can dive in moving forward.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and before we move on, I think that the ad blocker issue is important, because it has to do with, look, where we're spending our dollars and the efficiency, right? But this issue is only underscored by much larger issues, with Apple fighting with Facebook or Apple fighting with Google about not pushing through ads on certain apps and privacy. There's regulation is coming. There's a new administration coming in, and big tech is going to be regulated, or at least watched much more closely. In Europe, with GDPR, all of that stuff really impacts how marketers and how we think about using these technologies to promote our clients. Because frankly, look, everybody on this call, we're not Coca-Cola. I get it, right? We don't have that kind of budget. And so we have to make sure that yes, there's going to be some experimental stuff. Of course, we all know that as marketers or CEOs, but the efficiency portion of the game going forward really has to take center stage. So, and this is a perfect segue, because whatever we do, like if you look at the ad blocker issue, we're talking about customer behavior, and behavioral marketing is really you know, that's our cornerstone. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a B2C environment, B2B, or B2B2C, you really have to think about your strategies from a behavioral marketing perspective. One, I think it's because it's the right thing to do, but two, because we have data now, right? Like, you know, at some level, you have some customer data. You've either got email, you've got analytics, and we have to make sure that those things are making sense because, right, behavior drives data and data drives behavioral marketing. We have to be very careful. Again, we talked about industry data and we talked about your customer data. But I want to be very, very careful and point out that vanity data is killing marketers. It's literally a head fake. And I'm a former college basketball coach, so a lot of my talks are littered with basketball terminology. And I'm going to give you an example of a huge head fake that has to do with Facebook. Okay. So the average organic reach of any content on Facebook is about 2%. It's actually been that way since 2011. And by the way, you might look at this, look at the citation here down below. It's just a 2014 study by Ogilvy. We did a study in 2011 that kind of showed the same thing. It didn't have the girth, so I didn't want to, present it. But I'm going to show you what happened in 2019. So I'm really bad at math, but let's say we work really, really hard to bring 1,000 people to our Facebook page, right? And we all know how hard that is because it's not the number of people, it's the number of relevant people, right? And that's hard to do. So out of 1,000 people, if let's say, you know, they came to the Verasoni page and we typed, hey, you know, we've got a great opportunity for a webinar with Nisivoccia, that's going to reach about 2%. That's 20 people, right? Of the 20 people, and again, here's the study from 2019, we're reaching about 2.5%. That's a half a person. So from an efficiency perspective, now from a vanity perspective, it works great because everybody's like, you know, every CEO is like, oh, we need to be on Facebook and we need people to see us. That's great. And so they kind of look at the Facebook page and they're happy because people are posting. But activity and productivity are not the same thing when you're working with a limited budget or when you're working on a particular frequency and reach strategy to meet your marketing goals. Let me just continue down the same road. So if we compare email marketing versus social media on an engagement level, right? Across the board, the engagement of social media is about 0.5%, right? And this is like Instagram, this is every social media, this is all put together, right? But if you look at the email open rates, you're looking at 23%, and the click-through rates, which is obviously a huge indication of engagement. Well, you know, that's 6 or 7 times more. I'm really bad at math. I'm not suggesting here, and we are not suggesting to go out and purchase email lists. There are ways to do this, and purchasing email lists are not the way to do it, right?
Hang on. Abe, before you go on, we did have a question, and it's funny because it was my same question. Can you explain vanity data?
Well, vanity data is exactly that. People say, well, I saw you on Facebook and we got 10 likes, right? Now, if you have 20,000 people on your page and you got 10 likes, the 10 likes might make you feel good. Well, that's great, but that's not relevant. I mean, it's just not, right? Because the amount of time, think about what we have to do. Somebody has to write the post, edit it, post it, and hope that there's no typos, right? And then kind of let that go and kind of let it do its thing. So that's one example on social media. On Google Analytics, for example, is when people look at and say, well, we got 20,000 clicks at a website. And that's a top level look, right? But when you look underneath, we all know that 50% of web traffic is fake, right? And not that just we all know that, it's actually, there's data behind it. Happy to share that data. So you really have to get down beyond the, hey, this is how many clicks we got, right? And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about vanity data. There's a lot of stuff that is not transferable to conversions that people look at and they get stuck on that. And that's not really the report that you really want, right?
All right. So just one other follow-up on this before you move on. Are you saying Facebook reach numbers are false?
I'm saying that Facebook's reach numbers are real, right? And the reality is that they reach, if you have an organic post, not a paid post, if you have an organic post, you know, you went on your Facebook page, Laura, and you just invited however many people that are on Nisivoccia's Facebook page. If you look at your analytics over time, you're really reaching about 2%. Of the 2%, 0.5% are actually engaging in that. So listen, look, I'm not saying you shouldn't do Facebook. What I'm saying is it's got to work with an integrated plan, and you have got to figure out where to invest your money and time, and if it's worth it for you. That's what I'm saying.
Correct. And if I can just add, it's not that the reach numbers are fake by any means, but it's looking at the data that is most important to your business. Yes, we could be showing up on someone's newsfeed as they're mindlessly scrolling, but are they actually engaging with your posts? Are they interacting with your posts? That's a better measurement for us.
And the interaction rate on social, depending, and again, we're painting with broad strokes here, right? Because if you're Dunkin' Donuts and you type onto your page, hey, we're giving away free coffee, okay, that's not going to be the behavior. But I don't think anybody here is Dunkin' Donuts, and if you are, please do give us a call. We'd love to work with you. But that's what we're talking about, right? Like, let's figure out where we're going to put our efforts, because certain things are simply not worth it. Like I'm going to get into a discussion about SEO in a little bit, and we're going to have the same kind of feel to organic SEO that everybody's still stuck on,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the data really speaks for itself. I mean, you know, if you look at engagement and conversion rates on email versus social, I mean, this is across the board. And by the way, everybody, you know, I encourage you to do your own research on this. This stuff is, there's a lot of credible data out there that kind of speaks to this. And all of this, you know, we're really talking about the cost of acquisition of either a customer, client, donor, whatever, subscriber, right? And their lifetime value. So we want to be as effective as possible, and we know that is not, you know, that is an aspiration, right? But if we're collecting data and setting up baselines, which is you know, certainly what we do for our clients where we can, then that's really the right way to do it as you're going forward. And by the way, I say this assuming that everybody's you know, brand house is in order, right? Because all of that, it works together, right? So your creative, your brand, your frequency and reach, and your platforms all are working together. But the cost of customer acquisition is tricky, and nailing it down is literally, it's not industry based, it's literally individual business based from our perspective. Now you can get aggregate data, but the data, if you get aggregate data, behavior in, let's say, Morristown is going to be a lot different than, let's say, I don't know, in Little Silver, New Jersey, right? So it's really, really important to understand your local market behavior, right? So where are we investing and why? So where we're not putting a lot of time, and I know it sounds crazy, and we're not putting a lot of time into non-owned media. So if you guys, you know, are following the news, a lot of social media properties are a little jolted right now because Apple kicked them, you know, kicked Parler off. Gab is being kicked off. You know, Facebook's going to have different challenges, but I don't own anything on Facebook, right? Like Verasoni does not own anything on Facebook. It does not own anything We don't own any of our clients' stuff on Facebook, right? The digital advertising sites, well, because there's ad blockers, we're extremely careful about spending our clients' money on digital advertising because the ad blocker issue is huge. I use ad blockers. I'm in the business. I want to see the ads, but I use ad blockers. I don't want it to pollute personally my scrolling experience. I don't have time for that, right? Third-party websites are other issues. So what do you own? You own your website. You own your database, your CRM, your email, your SMS. You actually own that. You own your apps. So our focus is really on stuff that we have control over because for the foreseeable future, we really don't, and because of the data that we have, we don't believe that it's efficient to continue to go down that road. And we have not been down that road, let's say in 5 years with social media. That doesn't mean that we don't do it. We do it, but the majority of the investment is elsewhere. So we're selling organic digital, meaning that like, look, organic digital is a must. You have to do it for your drumbeat, right? So that's on the social and on the website. Organic SEO, I don't know if everybody can see, but organic SEO has been, in our opinion, pretty much dead for a long time. Look, this is the mobile environment. In the mobile environment, you know, if Google is not going to promote free links anymore, right? Because on the mobile environment, the screen estate is smaller, right? So you know, hiring an SEO company to compete on a particular term, which Google can turn around tomorrow and the performance of that term can drop by 30%, or somebody else can outspend you. Again, from an efficiency perspective, it doesn't work, right? Google's going to promote their own links. If you guys Google anything right now, they're going to promote the ads. Right after the ads, they're going to promote the maps, right? Google owns that space, all right? So organic SEO and organic digital, we're very, very, you know, leery of. Third-party web advertising, we strongly stay away from, and certainly blogging and all those things that are still in the conversation. Those are so niche that we really have to be careful because Google is not even like, you know, if you're marketing towards Google, the game has changed so much from blogging and organic SEO. It's really taken a long time for people to kind of get their heads around that. And with all due respect to Google and those folks who do work in that area, we've been out front on that for a long time. And I think if you talk to our clients, they'll tell you that we've either saved them a lot of money or saved them a lot of headaches. So what are we doing? Okay. We want control and agility. So pay-per-click with Google is where we're at. Okay. Email is the gold standard today. You own your emails. You could segment your emails. So you've got prospects, you've got existing customers, you could segment them. However, you could segment them by age, by whatever the demographics are for your business, right? Micro coursing and webinars and cross business partnerships. I mean, what we're doing right now is a cross business partnership between us and Nisivoccia, right? But I'm going to give you an interesting example of micro coursing. And Rebecca, please chime in on this because you actually led this effort. We had a client in the healthcare business, and they do compliance, HIPAA compliance. So we did a micro course where folks, how much did they charge, Rebecca? 45 or 40 bucks?
I think it was 45, and this was for an OSHA and infection control course specifically. Right.
So that went out, and they got 980 people signed up, and they paid 45 bucks for about, how long was the course? About 45 minutes?
A little bit longer because this was a CEU issued course, which was a system that we helped them build, where they're able to issue their CEUs online.
Exactly. And so pre-COVID, you know, maybe people were receptive to that, but look, people aren't going to conferences. This would be sort of a conference kind of thing. They're not going to these meetings. So micro coursing, where you're actually teaching the market something about the business, you know, like Rebecca and I have long thought about, hey, you know, we could do one of these. And we can, you know, for a half hour, we could literally teach people how to correctly read Google Analytics. And I think people will pay for that, right? So stuff like that. We're also buying video because it humanizes and makes the connection. And honestly, like in any form, it doesn't have to be, as long as it's on brand, it doesn't have to be a production, right? If you want it to be a production, that's great. But it could be as little as an iPhone video or something like that. On the app side,
So hey, on that, you actually pay for the video, or you make the video?
we make the video.
Okay, I thought you said you paid for it. Okay, that's good.
What do you mean paid for it?
Like you buy videos. Or you
Oh,
make videos.
well, I mean, it depends on the production, right? So like if you're doing something where, like, you know, obviously the internet is littered with these videos that you buy and you can customize and stuff like that. Yeah, you can absolutely do that, by the way, if you have the budget for it. But certainly we're looking right now to humanize our brands. We're looking to humanize our clients more because of that lack of touch, right? And I think video does a really good job of that, right? Apps, look, the days of spending, you know, $50,000 on an app are over. You can literally, you know, have a terrific app with some terrific functionality for not $50,000, right? Depending on the functionality. So, and also with that, you can literally own the desktop. You can own, not the desktop, you can own the Palm Top, and because you can reach your customers that way, right? Like, you know, you can send them a direct message through the app, and that reinforces your brand. But it literally depends on your business and where you want to go with things. I know it sounds crazy because we're talking technology, but direct mail is back with a vengeance. Everybody is home and direct mail is back. I could tell you that we have seen, and I don't want to create crazy expectations here, but Rebecca, we have seen fabulous returns on our direct mail campaigns, right?
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
think about where you used to get your bills in your mailbox. No, those are coming to your inbox. So there's so much more space in your physical mailbox these days.
Exactly. And of course, repurposing content. We all have content that we could repurpose across platforms. So if we're doing an email, that content can be repurposed. The micro course could be repurposed. Anything could be repurposed. And that's really going to help your efficiency. And the digital, non-digital hybrids, the best way that I could explain that is if you think about, like, I guess what H&R Block is doing, right? So, like, you know, you get on their app, you could do your taxes right there. And if you need to speak with somebody, boom, there's a live person right there. I mean, you know, for banking, law, and maybe, you know, people like Nisivoccia, that is something that's really useful because people do have questions, and you know, sometimes email and text, as well intended as they are, lack context, and people are still, you know, yes, digital is where it's at, but people still have questions. People still yearn to connect. This is, again, you know,
All right. Just one question came in on that one before you move forward. From Joan again. How about B2B DM?
Well, those are the campaigns that we're working on. We're working on B2B DM, and okay. It depends, though. I don't want to. Happy to answer more specific questions, but the campaigns that we're running are B2B DMs. Okay.
DM, by DM we mean direct message.
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
just to clarify.
Yes. Yeah. On the direct message part, think of it as, you know, go back to the statistic that we had earlier in this presentation where we talked about people reading their text within 3 seconds. Same behavior, right? And if DM also means direct mail, the behavior is the same. Right. So our mindset is, you know, the agility and proactivity piece is important because we have data and we're not beholden to technology. Technology is not the answer to marketing. Technology is a tool right? And so we look at the data, we create data-driven, where we can, by the way, because, still, some of our customers are literally just starting to take this seriously, and that's okay. That's okay. I mean, you start by starting, right? So for us, the equity and success are in the ideas, and you want to be proactive about those ideas, and it's okay. I know we all have, jobs and positions to protect, but I think that we're in a different place in terms of, the ability to take more calculated risks if you are collecting the data, in earnest, right? And of course you execute. So again, kind of tying it back to the top of the show, the digital piece is important. The ability to be more agile because you're working on a behavior, right? And the platform ownership, what I really should have said here is we're looking at, because of behavioral, we're looking at people over platforms. And the platform ownership is absolutely key going forward. Like, we don't have any, and we've been marketing on Facebook since 2006. I mean, we may be missing something, but I assure you that if we are, it's very limited. And of course, we're always open to learning, because you can't be in this business and literally fall in love with your own ideas. I always say I'm a sample of one. So our business is pretty humbling. It humbles you very, very quickly. So we're anyway. So we're thankful. Thank you to everybody who joined. We hope that this is been helpful to you, and would love to take your questions.
Thank you. However you guys want to do it. You want to come into chat, you want to come into Q&A. I do have, you want to take one of these other questions right now?
Yeah.
Earlier?
Yeah, would you mind reading it to me? Because I don't know.
Yeah. So you talk about the shift to digital. What are your thoughts on marketing automation?
Rebecca, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I personally love marketing automation. I think it's a fantastic tool. However, I think even the name in itself is very misleading. People think automation, you can just set it and forget it, and it goes on its own. But with any campaign that you're running, and a marketing automation campaign is included here, you need to be, you need someone to write it, drive back to your end goal and your purpose, make sure that your messaging is supporting your brand, and then that performance needs to be actively managed. You need to be looking at, your open rates, your click-throughs, seeing if you're actually getting the end results that you're looking for, and then to make those little alterations that you need to have a successful campaign. So marketing automation, do we do it? Yes. Do we love it? I certainly do. And it can be tied as a piece to your overall marketing strategy. Absolutely.
All right, good. Another one came in from Therese. Can you provide some examples of good repurposing of content across platforms? I think a lot of us think if we just post the same thing on every platform. I'm guilty of that, I have to say.
Absolutely. When you're doing an integrated campaign, you do want your messaging tailored to the specific platform, but it can be repurposed. For an example, video is a great example that I like to use. So say that you have a longer, maybe like 5-minute in-depth, really human conversation video, could be a talking head style video talking about your business philosophy or your services. You can take that content, and that may have its purpose, say on your website, or to be shared with very specific clients. But then you can take that same video content, segment that down into powerful 30-second clips that would serve very well on social media, that may serve very well on a targeted email campaign. So when we talk about repurposing our content, that's certainly a way to do it. And it's all, again, it's all a part of that integrated campaign that's leading towards your end business goal.
Well, just one other thing on that. Look, frequency and reach is still a thing, right? And so if you've got really good content that you could repurpose across media, it's the frequency that that's also really, really important, right? And so if and again, you're up against a lot of things. You're up against Facebook's lack of, giving you the ability to reach 100% of your audience. You're up against a lot of things, but the magic is in that integration. The magic is in that frequency and reach, and it's something that is unique to you and your audience. And you can only do that by starting to think about capturing baseline data.
Mm-hmm. I would also add to that, creative is also a piece of that. So frequency, reach, and creative, making sure that you have the right messaging for the right platform, that you're telling your story in the right way. And then of course, the beautiful visuals, the beautiful media assets that would go along with that copy, that would go along with that story for your campaigns.
Right. And when Rebecca says beautiful, she also means quick, right?
Yeah.
Especially because of mobile, right? So, a lot of folks, and look, all we have to do is watch what the bigger guys are doing. Like, look at what Amex is doing. Look at what, if you're a law firm, look at what DLA Piper is doing. Everything is around simplicity. And the reason is because of this. Right? Like, nobody wants to wait for anything to load. And if you're running a mobile web as opposed to an app, and you've got a lot of beauty on your website, right? That just may take a long time to load. And that is a dissatisfier, almost 100% of the time.
How about, how are you structuring campaigns right now?
So we're going to start with the behavior. So when we meet with, whoever, when we meet with our clients, and we're going to figure out behaviorally what the audience wants. And we want to know where the audience aggregates. So we think of our brands as almost like TV stations, or, so we're going to be broadcasting X, right? Where are we going to capture that audience? How are we going to do it? And of course, what budget do we have to realistically be able to achieve our goals? If you don't put a budget to it, it's going to be an extreme dissatisfier, because your expectations are going to be off, right? So, and I mean, of course, it sounds self-serving, but it's the truth, right? So if you're looking to capture a particular, or if you're looking to grow, and it also depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to, for example, if there's a merger and acquisition, are you trying to figure out what a rebranding looks like? And therefore that has a, one way of thinking about it. Or if you're in a particular growth cycle, it depends on the life cycle of your business. But there's a lot of tools that we have. It's a matter of which ones are efficient and which ones do we think that we can capture the most audience efficiently. And of course, going back to what Rebecca said, is the creative right? Mm-hmm. Because we could have all of this stuff, we can nail it down. But if the creative isn't right, then you're not making that connection.
Okay. So this last question is interesting to me, because I get calls all day long, and I'm sure other marketers do too. But what do you think of TV advertising right now? And especially a lot of the local news agencies call me, like News 12 and some of the more regional sites.
Yeah,
They know.
Yeah, look, I think it's a great question. Look, people are home, right? People are home. But also I think people are overwhelmed. So initially, when March came, we actually pulled all of our clients off of TV, right? And then when we thought about it, we thought it was like we thought like, well, you know, maybe that might have been a mistake. But 6 months forward, we shifted the budget towards PPC, and literally for 100% of our clients, that was a win.
Yeah.
Interestingly, last week, Ad Age came out, and if you Google it, or I'm happy to, I have the link. I'll send it to everybody. Ad Age came out, and they were like, "Hey, you know, people actually decreased their TV ad budget because of what's going on with, you know, the social unrest and stuff like that, because they didn't want their brands to be associated with that." But what is also happening is that there is consumer fatigue around TV because they're still stuck to it. So there are bits in research that talk about that. We pulled folks off of TV. That we took a risk with that, we believe, but that risk paid off because we moved the budget to PPC. I mean, Rebecca, you were working on that. Can you add anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a full shift. And what I can tell you too, for when we switched over to Google PPC, the budget that we were utilizing, we didn't need to take that full TV budget either. We were able to take a portion of that over to PPC and see a higher return. So I think we did make the right decision, but that's certainly something that we're still, you know, actively monitoring, you know, doing our research, seeing if there are changes. Another piece that we did back in March for all of our clients is we broke a lot of billboard contracts when everyone had those stay-at-home orders. So that's something that you need to, you know, you need to think about how we can be a little agile. Just into our current state of affairs, we knew less people were going to be on the road, and there's going to be less people seeing those billboards. So we also pulled those on down.
And I will say this, I think, to the credit of our, you know, media partners, the outdoor organizations, and even to the TV organizations, you know, it was not easy having those conversations. I mean, you know, obviously we have really good relationships, but you're breaking a contract, right? I have to give them a lot of credit for understanding the situation. And you know, it was highly professional. It was timely on their part. They were very accepting. They were very supportive of our clients' decisions and our decisions. And it's not something that we'll forget, right?
You guys, do you want to put up your contact information? You have that? I'm getting some questions on how to contact you.
Sure. Here is our contact information. Let me.
And
Sorry. Here we go.
There you go. And then, yeah. Any last minute questions?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Laura. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah.
We're honored to be here. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for being our first presenters. Wait, our Nisivoccia, I have a chat coming in. Thank you. Yes. Thank you to all our attendees, and look for our next program to probably an April timeframe.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Don't forget the survey.
Oh, yes, of course.